Hi there, I'm Josh Cameron from McPhail Center for Music, and I've got a few practice tips for the lyrical and the technical all-state trumpet etudes. So starting with the lyrical etude, I'm just going to hit my bullet points here. The main thing to focus on as you're playing through this is to strive for long connected phrases. So you'll notice that the melody moves around a whole lot in this etude or in this excerpt, and even though it goes through a bunch of wide intervals and things like that, we still want to concentrate on playing very smoothly and very evenly through that line. So don't get too wrapped up in moving around too much for those intervals. Just try and play through everything very smoothly. Couple dynamic changes to watch out for. There's the first dynamic change with the pickup into measure 7 where it goes to forte. Make sure you're playing with a nice full sound there, and then make a big contrast as you go to piano 2 measures later in measure 9. When you start that trill, making a big contrast between that piano and forte is going to be really important for just kind of creating a different mood within this etude. Toward the end of the etude, or the second half of it, I should say, keeping those ornaments, the trill, and then toward the very end of this excerpt, the little 4-note turn or the little 3-note turn toward the end of this, make sure that you just keep those sounding very natural, not rushed, because we want this whole thing to have a very easy singing kind of sound to it. So trying to fit those ornaments within a particular beat, but not trying to rush through them or make them sound too frantic. Just keep them nice and easy. An example of that, maybe toward the end, would be something like this. Versus trying to rush through them too quickly or anything like that. So just keep them very easy, natural sounding. And yeah, just keep a nice singing sound going the entire time through that lyrical etude. Now, for the technical etude, because there's not a whole lot of rhythmic variation, the important thing is to keep a nice steady pulse going the entire time, just so that these eighth notes sound like it's constant motion the entire time. Keeping everything very even sounding once again, even through this technical etude, is going to be important. It gets you going through a wide range from low notes up to high notes pretty quickly. So even though it requires that kind of athleticism, still try and play very smoothly, very evenly through the entire etude, taking it maybe a phrase at a time, 4 measures at a time when you're practicing, just to make sure you play things through very clearly, very evenly, with a nice clear sound no matter what range you're in, just to make sure that everything sounds very even, so that you can keep it very consistent all the way throughout. Once you've got the notes figured out, and you know what you need to do with your fingers, then pay really close attention to all the different articulation markings. You'll notice various different groupings of slur 3, slur 4, slur 2, various different articulations in between there as well. So that's what creates a little bit of rhythmic interest inside of the basic eighth note rhythm. So even though it's constant eighth notes the entire time, these different groupings of slurs and articulations creates kind of different internal rhythm. So we really want to make sure we're bringing out those different groupings of slurs. A particular spot would be the second to last line, the beginning of the second to last line of this excerpt. I kind of went slower to bring out those different groupings intentionally, but if you play evenly through that line but still bring out those articulation changes, then it's going to create a lot of interest in those lines as well. Yeah, I mean, everything else is about just keeping everything very even, keeping the pulse very even. The last thing I'm going to mention is anytime that you have a moving line with kind of accompaniment notes, for example, the last line of this excerpt, make sure you're bringing out those moving notes. For example, we really want to hear those moving notes, and the 2 eighth notes that follow each of those that are tied together, where it keeps repeating B, C, B, C, B, C. Try and let those be a little bit more in the background and bring out the moving notes a lot more. Anytime that comes up in this etude, bring out those moving notes that much more. So yeah, other than that, practice slowly, practice carefully. Make a nice clear sound the entire time, and just pick it apart piece at a time until you have the whole thing down.